Before we get started, let me make a recommendation. If you like this show, then I think you'll love a podcast called Useless Information. They're friends of this show, and we really think you dig that pod. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts or through the link below. More on that in a bit. So, Grape-Nuts. They're a wheat and barley cereal developed by C.W. Post in 1897, and it has actually made some interesting contributions to American food history. But before we get into all of that, let's have a chat about the name. A box of Grape-Nuts actually contains whole grain wheat flour, malted barley flour, isolated soy protein, salt, whole grain barley flour, malt extract, and dried yeast. From what we could find, the recipe has remained largely unchanged since its introduction over 100 years ago, save for making the switch to whole grains. So just how did Grape-Nuts get their misleading name? Well, nobody's 100% sure, not even the Post company themselves, but the most plausible origin story is that as Post used maltose in the original recipe, which was called grape sugar, that's where they got the grape part. The cereal also has a bit of a nutty flavor and looks like little miniature generic nuts, which is perhaps where the nuts part came from. Alternatively, a slightly less plausible hypothesis is that the cereal specifically looks a bit like grape seeds if you happen to have really bad vision. Grape seeds, though, they are not nuts. Incidentally, nor are almonds, peanuts, Brazil nuts, and many other things that we call nuts. But considering that very few people call the seeds of grapes nuts, we think this one is a bit of a stretch compared to the former story. Whatever the case, as we mentioned earlier, grape nuts have been at the center of some historical events since their creation. For example, the cereal is thought to be the first widespread product to feature coupons inside. In this case, they were penny-off coupons, which became a big hit in the 1890s. The coupons were for other Post cereals. They were trying to get people to buy more of their product, and it totally worked. During World War II, Grape-Nuts were featured in soldiers' rations, fueling the troops during battle. Because the cereal was light, compact, calorie-dense, and had a long shelf life, it was a perfect item to include in rations. Similarly, Grape-Nuts saw Edmund Hillary and Sherpa Tenzing Norway to the top of Mount Everest. The two would, of course, become the first people to reach the summit of the mountain, and they took Grape-Nuts along with them to keep them fueled on the long, strenuous climb. In addition to expeditions and army rations, Grape-Nuts also sponsored the Danny Thomas Show, a popular series during the 1950s. If the Danny Thomas Show isn't ringing any bells, you might recognize a character that appeared in the show during an episode that was promoting Grape-Nuts, and that would be Sheriff Andy Taylor. During the show, the main character Danny visited Maybury, where he met up with Andy. Viewers loved the sheriff so much that a spin-off series called The Andy Griffith Show was born, which of course became a classic. Post also ran a number of successful ad campaigns, including several commercials that ran during the Andy Griffith Show, featuring Sheriff Andy Taylor and Deputy Barney Fife. However, Post's Grape-Nuts started becoming less popular as time went on, probably due to Post being sold from one company to another and not having a consolidated, consistent marketing plan. That's when they decided to make the switch to whole grain, a staple in the cereal's recipe today. They thought whole grain would be more appealing and keep up with the healthy image that they were trying to project. Unfortunately, in addition to being made of neither grapes nor nuts, Grape-Nuts aren't all that healthy either, though compared to most breakfast cereals, perhaps one could consider them relatively healthy. Also, defining healthy is tricky because it depends on your nutritional needs. But the point here is that back in the day, Post boasted that Grape-Nuts would fill you up, not out. However, it has since been found that the cereal has a glycemic index of 71. This is higher than sugary cereals like Fruit Loops and Frosted Flakes. For further reference, table sugar only has a glycemic index of 60. So Grape-Nuts is perhaps good for a quick energy spike before a morning workout or the like, but the downside is that aside from scenarios like that, the cereal inducing a pretty large blood sugar spike could lead to insulin resistance. This is particularly the case when you consider how calorie-dense it is, which has led to a minuscule recommended serving size, which most people totally ignore. Indeed, they simply fill up their bowl with an absolutely massive amount of calories. This further potentially contributes to obesity and its associated health and quality of life problems. Now, this is hardly unique when it comes to breakfast cereals, but the point is that it is going to fill you out if you actually decide to have it fill you up instead of adhering to the recommended serving size of a minuscule 58 grams, which is about 210 calories. And if you're looking for a more practical reference point here, someone at TodayIFoundOut tested this out. Turns out to only be about 7 or 8 spoonfuls. So, in summary, this entire video has basically found out that Grape-Nuts are a lie. So if you like this sort of video, which people often tell us is kind of the useless information that they love to know, then I think you'll really enjoy the Useless Information podcast, which is hosted by Steve Silverman. This isn't a paid spot or anything. This is just a podcast we think you will enjoy if you like our content here at Today I Found Out. They've done episodes on things like the square dancing revival that Henry Ford tried to start, and also the man who spent decades in prison for stealing $5 worth of chocolate. They really sound like Today I Found Out topics, but they're presented in a podcast format by Steve. It's bizarre true stories in a podcast that gets awesome reviews and has been downloaded millions of times. As I say, it's really great stuff. Please do go check them out on whatever platform you get your podcasts. I'm also linking over to their website below, so check them out. And as always, thank you for watching.